Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and always being part of us. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahaba Kajur. But first are the headlines. Minister Nyakato tells government to stop lame excuses, advises on the way forward. Government bans hawkers everywhere from city centers to village towns. And Kenya's Supreme Court begins hearing Constitutional Review Bill appeal. In our sports today, Comoros send Ghana crashing out of AFCON. Morocco, Gabon through. Once again, thank you so much for being part of us. We start with one of our top stories. Now, the Shadow Minister for Energy and Mineral Development, Asinansi Nyakato, has called on government to find ways of establishing fuel prices other than giving unsatisfying excuses. Now, fuel prices have escalated across the country, with a litre of petrol now exceeding 5,000 shillings at most fuel outlets, while in Hoima, a litre is said to be going for 12,000 shillings. Our reporter has more. The government, through the Energy Ministry, recently attributed the current hike in price of petroleum products to the mandatory COVID-19 testing at the Uganda-Kenya border points of Busia and Malaba. According to the Energy Ministry statement issued on January 14th, supply was normal, with trucks being cleared as usual, and drivers were allowed to present negative COVID-19 results from Kenya until January 1st, 2022, when a directive was issued requiring all truck drivers to undergo testing at Malaba and Busia entry points, which resulted in a build-up of a queue of trucks as none were entering the country. However, in her press statement dated January 17th, Nyakato, who is also the woman MP for Hoima Oil City, said that the excuse government gave to Ugandans for the hike in fuel prices is lame and embarrassing. Nyakato added that some government officials and their agents were taking advantage of COVID tests to exorbitantly change drivers with an aim of making money in disregard of Ugandans and the economy. She thus wants government to be held liable for any single poorly considered decision that negatively impacts Ugandans. The Energy Ministry has subsequently warned oil companies against charging a litre of fuel above 5,000 shillings, but Nyakato feels the said amount is still high for fuel. In her statement, the minister outlined recommendations which she says government must follow to end the current fuel issue, including reducing the taxes on fuel so as to stabilize the fuel prices to less than 4,000. Speeding up the process of clearing all traders on Uganda's borders to avoid pile-up of trucks, refilling the existing fuel reserves in Jinja to cater for such emergencies, with a capacity of at least providing for fuel for a month, among others. Well, thank you so much, reporter. Moving on in our top stories, the government of Uganda, through the Minister of Security, Major General Jim Muhwezi, has banned hawkers from operating outside trading centers with immediate effect. Our reporter Nalugo has more.
According to the directive issued to resident district commissioners, district police commanders, and district internal security officers, through the Minister for Security, Major General Jim Muhwezi, hawkers pose a security risk if unabated. The minister has therefore asked the different enforcers copied in the directive to see to it that hawkers of any type are barred from operating outside the gazetted trading centers. Muhwezi said that they have received information that there are criminals around the villages, especially in the western region, masquerading to be hawkers or traders. He added that the practice of moving in villages selling items should not be allowed as it is a source of insecurity. Those who want trade should do so in trading centers. The Kampala resident city commissioner Hood Hussein said last year that hawkers in Kampala should make arrangements to find markets where they will operate from.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. Moving on in our top stories, fruits and vegetable farmers have expressed fear that the increasing use of chemicals as pesticides could affect the export viability of their produce and harm users.
In interviews with the media, the farmers said the lack of a food safety law leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to required standards for the export market. Samuel Balagade, the vice chairperson of Hotfish, said that the country Uganda for the long time have failed to have a strong food safety law, adding that food safety control is fragmented amongst different institutions and therefore it's not very effective, and that's why countries like Kenya, Tanzania are complying very fast. Dr. Doris Kichoncho, a trade advisor, said sensitization needed to be done among farmers on which type of pesticides to use during and after the harvest to yield better products for global markets. He said some of the chemicals used could cause cancer. He added that when you take in these chemicals, you may not die instantly because it may not be a lethal dose, but slowly by slowly they affect the way your body is functioning.
Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. Moving on in our international news, Kenya's Supreme Court on Tuesday began hearing a controversial constitutional review bill that has been at the heart of politics for several years in the East African country. We have more on this report.
Known as the Building Bridges Initiative, this revision plans to create new positions in the executive, comprising of a prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers and an opposition leader, and to increase the number of parliamentarians from 290 to 360. According to the outgoing President Uhuru Kenyatta, who initiated the project, this opening up of power would dilute the winner-takes-it-all rule, which he considers to be the cause of post-election conflicts in Kenya. But the bill, which was passed by Parliament in May and was to be put to a referendum, was taken to court by its critics. There was the first hearing, and then a court of appeal ruled that the president did not have the constitutional right to initiate such a process. The court also ruled that Kenyatta could be sued in civil court for illegally initiating the process. The hearings in the Supreme Court are scheduled to continue until Thursday. The judges will then announce the date of their decision. Analysts say that even if the Supreme Court rules in favor of the government and allows the law to be put to a referendum, it cannot be held before the election scheduled for 9th August. But since its launch in 2018, the BBI has reshaped the Kenyan political landscape.
Away from that, Sudanese shuttered shops and barricaded streets with burning tires and rocks on Tuesday, staging angry rallies to protest against one of the bloodiest days since a coup derailed the country's democratic transition. The civilian anti-coup mobilization might be taking a new turn in Sudan, responding to the Forces of Freedom and Change, an influential civilian bloc called to start 2 days of disobedience. On Tuesday, protesters barricaded their streets. A series of small signs posted on the closed outlets at the sprawling Sajen Construction Supplies Market in Khartoum say that shops closed for mourning. Security forces on Monday opened fire, killing at least 7 people as thousands marched against the army's October 25th takeover. One of the merchants, Othman El Sharif, was among those shot dead. The protests come as Washington ramps up pressure in a bid to broker an end to the month-long crisis in the Northeast African nation, with top U.S. diplomats expected to arrive in the capital Khartoum for talks. After Monday deaths, the United Nations Special Representative condemned the issue of live ammunition, but the latest such appeals have not curbed a rising death toll, and the total number of the crackdown victims amounts to 71. Protesters, sometimes numbering in the tens of thousands, have regularly taken to the streets since the coup led the General Abdel Fattah nearly 3 months ago. The military power grab derailed a fragile transition to civilian rule following the April 2019 ouster of autocrat Omar al-Bashir, with Prince Minister Abdallah Hamdok resigning earlier this month, warning Sudan was at a dangerous crossroads threatening its very survival. Away from that, about 20 Chadian rebels and political opponents were freed from the Klesom prison on Tuesday. Now, 22 men who were condemned for treason benefited from an amnesty decreed last November. Take a look at the story.
They represent a fraction of the nearly 300 rebels and political dissidents that were granted amnesty last November. As they exited the Klesom Penitentiary, which is located southeast of Jamena, Mahamat Ahmad Alabo, the Minister of Justice, awaited. The minister commented that prior to the inclusive national dialogue that is currently in preparations, and in order to allow all the sons and daughters of Chad to participate, the country's highest authorities have decided to grant amnesty to compatriots for offences against the integrity of the state and for offences of opinion. After months in prison, Jelasem Maibe Adolfi, a former member of the armed group Movement for Peace, Reconstruction and Development, is now a free man. The release of political prisoners met a key demand by opposition groups invited to join a forum on Chad's future. It included individuals sentenced for offences including crimes of opinion, terrorism and harming the integrity of the state, were granted amnesty by the Council of Ministers. A national dialogue starting on November-February 15th is supposed to pave the way for presidential and parliamentary elections. Mahamat Idris Deby took the reins of Chad after his father Idris Deby Itno was killed on the front.
Moving on, the customs authorities in Senegal have seized 3 containers and ammunition aboard a Guyana-flagged cargo ship, the Olika. Now, authorities estimate that the 3 containers are worth an estimated $5.2 million. We have more on this report.
The discovery was made in the port of Dakar, but the customs agency did not specify the date it happened. The ship had stopped to refuel after having made what the authorities described as inconsistent declarations. Local reports suggest that the crew is Ukrainian. The authorities, however, have not confirmed this. According to specialist website Vessel Finder, the cargo ship had stopped in northern Italy and Spain's Canary Islands before arriving in the port of Dakar. The vessel's final destination is unknown. In June 2021, Senegal's Navy seized 8 tons of cannabis from a vessel off the coast of the country.
Now, Africa Today takes a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news, IMF country chief for Tunisia said that the economy of the North African state needs deep reforms, such as drastically reducing of its vast public wage bill. Take a look at the story.
Approaching the end of his 3-year term, Jerome Vacha added that the pandemic had created the deepest recession since Tunisia's independence in 1956. Vacha said that the country had pre-existing problems, in particular budget deficits and public debt, which have worsened in recent years, adding that external deficits have also been persistent in previous years, and above all, growth has been weak and largely insufficient. Growth dropped by almost 9% of GDP in 2020. In 2021, it only recovered by 3%. Unemployment remains high at over 18%. The IMF envoy believes that the country's economy needs deep structural reforms. According to the IMF representative, Tunisia is an economy that needs very deep structural reforms, especially to improve the business environment, but it also requires a correction of macroeconomic imbalance, an improvement of the budgetary situation, and a deep reform of public enterprises. Tunisian President Kais Saied sacked the government and suspended parliament in July last year. The government has since asked the IMF for a bailout package, the 4th since the revolution.
In Africa Today Health, a 2021 research by the University of KwaZulu indicates that the sale of Mopen worms results in an income of more than $35 million per annum across South Africa. Now, in South Africa, Mopen worms are a staple part of the diet in rural areas and are considered a delicacy.
In a 2021 research on the role of edible insects in rural areas by University of KwaZulu-Natal indicates that the sale of Mopen worms results in an income of approximately $29 million to $59 million per annum across South Africa. Pretoria-based entrepreneur Puti Kabasa, also known as Mopen Queen, said that the demand for the edible insect is increasing. Kabasa said that as time goes, there have been people calling from the United Kingdoms and the United States because that side of the world there is a growing trend of shifting from eating livestock such as beef and goats. Food laws such as the Meat Safety Act in South Africa have not yet tested and approved edible insects for human consumption. Researchers say this may be the reason for not including edible insects in economic development strategies. Edible insects are collected in the wild and their availability is affected by climate change. The edible insect study by the University of KwaZulu-Natal shows that the market of edible insects like Mopen worms in Southern African region is expected to exceed $270 million by 2024. However, in order to see growth in the South African market, food analysts say that edible insects should be included in food policies and prioritized for food security.
In our sports news today, four-time champion Ghana was eliminated in the group stage at the African Cup of Nations on Tuesday with a 3-2 loss to tournament debutant Comoros in a shocker that eclipsed a series of big surprises already in Cameroon.
In a tumultuous game, Ghana fell behind in the 4th minute, had captain Andre Ayew harshly sent off in the 25th and was 2-0 down in the 61st minute. The Ghanaians leveled with 2 goals in 13 minutes late in the game, only to concede again with Ahmed Mogini swept in his second in the 85th minute to give Comoros undoubtedly its biggest soccer moment ever. The killer blow for Ghana came with Ayew's red card. He slid in when Comoros goalkeeper Salim Ben Boina spilled the ball and did get a toe to the ball, but also sent his boot crashing into the keeper in his follow-through. Meanwhile, Morocco and Gabon drew 2-2 in Yaoundé to retain first and second place in Group C respectively and qualify for the round of 16, which kicks off on Sunday. Gabon did not have the services of their 2 superstars. Pierre Aubameyang and Lemina managed to hold on to the North African team to seal position 2 to qualify for the round of 16. Rwandan Salima Mukansanga became first woman to referee on African Cup of Nations match when she oversaw the Group B clash between Guinea and Zimbabwe in Yaoundé on Tuesday. Guinea also advanced behind group winner Senegal as those 2 teams took the automatic qualifying places as expected, but not in the manner expected. Guinea captain Nabi Keita did his best to revive his team but got a yellow card, which means he is suspended for Guinea's last 16 games. Senegal qualified atop Group B but only with a 0-0 draw with Malawi. And Zimbabwe, which had already been eliminated, provided yet another surprise by upsetting Guinea 2-1 in the other Group B game.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep giving you the updates. It is TV Africa, the right to know.